Hi friends, let's get right down to business in this issue, because judging by what's happening on the planet, time is really becoming the most precious thing we have. Today we will tell you about several terrible natural disasters that occurred in different parts of the world, reminding us of the unpredictability and power of natural forces. At the very beginning of our review, we draw attention to the earthquake with magnitude 6.3, which occurred off the coast of Chile. This was reported by the European Mediterranean Seismological Center. The epicenter of the tremors was located 38 kilometers southwest of the city of Coquimbo, the population of which exceeds 160,000 people. The source lay at a depth of 9 kilometers. Several damages and small destructions were noticed on the consequence of this earthquake. In some areas the light disappeared, walls and houses began to move, tables and cafes and restaurants fell, and in stores the goods were knocked out of the showcases. However, thanks to the warnings of the authorities and the conscious actions of people, human casualties were avoided. The threat of a tsunami was also not announced. In Turkey, specifically in Istanbul, they are trying to eliminate the consequences of the flash flooding that hit the metropolis on Wednesday night. The downpour led to the submergence of several neighborhoods, where the water level rose so high that it swept away cars and blocked people in buildings. Tragically, 2 people died and 31 were injured. The most severe destruction was seen in the Basaksehir neighborhood. Residents of this neighborhood faced horrifying scenes as the water began to carry away everything in its path. Dozens of residents were stranded in the local library, but thanks to a swift evacuation, they managed to escape. Greece was the next country to be hit by the elements. The central regions of this picturesque country were in the center of powerful rains that began on Tuesday night. The rains were so heavy that the city of Volos was completely flooded. 1 person has died as a result of the floods and another person is reported missing. Some areas received up to 700 millimeters of rainfall. Forecasters have warned that thunderstorms in Greece will continue for about another 24 hours, exacerbating an already difficult situation. Volos police had to ban cars from the city streets and urged residents to stay in their homes. The downpours in Greece came after summer forest fires that killed 25 people and destroyed about 150,000 hectares of land. This series of natural disasters is causing serious damage to the country, and the efforts of the authorities and rescue services are aimed at helping the victims and rebuilding infrastructure. And finally, in Bulgaria, too, not without terrible floods, which covered the Sarajevo region in the south of the Black Sea coast. Up to 330 millimeters of precipitation fell here, which caused serious damage and claimed the lives of 3 people. 2 more are missing. The terrible flooding seriously affected the regions of Sarajevo and Luznitz, where streets of coastal towns and villages were flooded, houses and cars were damaged, and some streams carried holiday cottages, caravans and campers into the sea. Bridges and roads were also damaged and most settlements had problems with lighting. Bulgarian authorities declared an emergency regime and began reconstruction work. As a sign of grief and respect for the flood victims, a 1-day mourning period was declared in Sarajevo, and all festivities on the occasion of the creation of a unified state were cancelled. Let's move now to China, where residents are still recovering from the powerful Typhoon Haikui. This natural disaster particularly affected the city of Fucking. Drone footage shows that almost the entire city was flooded. Houses, streets, and cars went underwater, trees were fallen, and sewers overflowed. According to media reports, some 115,000 people were evacuated from dangerous areas. Alas, however, 5 people were reported missing after a fire truck was washed away by a torrent of water into the river. Thousands of people were displaced from their homes, and the train station had to be closed. Airline flights were also canceled. Within a day, some parts of Fujian province received an unimaginable 300 millimeters of rainfall. These are prohibitive figures for this area. The most dangerous influence of the typhoon has passed as it moves westward at a speed of 10 to 15 kilometers per hour, and it is gradually weakening. However, the consequences remain serious. Now back to Europe, to Spain, where the central regions of the country are facing a massive climate disaster. Storm Dana hit the Pyrenees on Sunday and caused widespread flooding. Overturned cars, broken trees, and damaged furniture were seen in the streets of the municipality of El Alamo in the Madrid region. 3 people have died as a result of the heavy rains and 3 others are missing, authorities said. The cyclone affected 7 regions of the country, including Madrid, Castilla-La Mancha, Catalonia, the Balearic Islands, and the Basque Country. Central authorities have advised residents to stay indoors, and some roads in the Madrid area have been closed. Rescue teams are actively searching for victims and survivors of the heavy rains, and efforts are focused on helping victims and rebuilding infrastructure. Finally, tragic news comes from India, where 3 people were killed and dozens injured when a 3-story apartment building collapsed in Barabanki district in the Indian state of Uttar Pradesh. The collapse happened at night when people were still sleeping. Some of them fell from a great height and died. According to local media, the house was built recently and was not in a dilapidated condition, and the causes of the collapse are still being investigated. All these terrible events remind us of the importance of solidarity and support in difficult moments. Despite distances and cultural differences, we all live on the same planet and have a shared responsibility for its well-being. We must remain humane, take care of each other and our planet, and always remain human beings with a capital letter. Times may be hard, but together we can overcome all difficulties.